In the name of God, the compassionate, the merciful. Our topic is end of life. As we know, the life is a gift of God, and He is the one who really gives life and takes away the life. So we must be acting in respect to life, especially human life, in the way that God is pleased with, because this is like a trust which is deposited to us, and we must be very much careful about what we do with this. So according to the Quran, anything that causes death and is not regulated by God, is not accepted by God, for example, because it's a person who is a criminal and he deserves to be punished. No, if it is not like this, if it is just an innocent person, there is no way to put an end to the life of this human being, even if you feel that you are in the position that you have the right. For example, you think that you are father or mother of this, for example, child or embryo, still you don't have any such a right in Islam, because a human being is equal to another human being. Even if, for example, that's an embryo which is not yet born, but that is in the sight of God equal to another human being. And it's very interesting to mention a mystical point here, which is mentioned by some Muslim mystics, that God treats all human beings equally, and as if He has only this human being. So God, has billions of people, but He treats every one of us in a special way, and He treats each of us as He has only me or only you. But unfortunately, we treat God as if we have thousands of God, quite opposite to what we are supposed to do. So every human being is equal, and we never can cause death to anyone, whether it's our child or a person who has no relation to us. It makes no difference. They must all be respected. So abortion is clearly condemned, and we have had some discussion about this. Another thing which is also highly condemned is murder, and is one of the great and grave sins in Islam to commit murder, especially if it comes to the murder of believers, because believers have no reason to be killed. Any human being must not be killed. But if someone kills a believer, this shows more enmity towards God, and this is to be more condemned. And also, when it comes to killing oneself, this is also considered as murder. For example, suicide. Suicide is not accepted. Why? Because even my life belongs to God. It doesn't belong to me in a real sense. I cannot say, okay, this is my life and I can do whatever I want with my life. This is my body, I can do whatever I want with my body. This is my money, I can do whatever I want with my money. No, anything belongs to God, and anything must be treated as gift. If someone gives you something as gift, or if you are a guest of someone, and for example you go to house of someone and he says, okay, this is my table, this is my TV, this is my computer, this is my fridge, this is my washing machine, you can use. This doesn't mean that you can destroy them. So our life, our body, our money, our respect, reputation, whatever we have, our knowledge, our mind, our memory, our health, everything is a gift of God, and we are responsible for that. We can use that, but we must use it in a rational and a wise way. So I cannot commit suicide and say, okay, this is my life and I want to put an end to it because, for example, I'm suffering. No. You must look after your life in the way that God Almighty has prescribed. So suicide is as wrong as murdering another person. You cannot say suicide is okay. And this is why all Muslim scholars have condemned suicide, and they say suicide is wrong. And what is important is to know that the only time that someone can endanger his own life is when there is a clear prescription from God. For example, I am a fireman, and to protect people from fire, I may endanger my life. So here you cannot say if a fireman goes and gets killed, this is suicide. Why? Because he is doing this to protect human beings, and this is something which has God accepted, which has God prescribed. Or for example, if a soldier goes to protect and defend his country or his people or their dignity and respect, this is accepted. So the only time that one can endanger his or her life is when there is clear prescription or ruling from God. And this cannot be decided by every person, because unfortunately some people say, okay, I had a call from God, and God told me you should, for example, do this or that. No. Everything must be based on clear prescription or ruling from God, and this can be only decided by the people who are experts in this field. It's not a matter of personal choice. I say, okay, I have chosen this, or I had a call from God in my heart to do this or that. No. So suicide is not accepted, and if someone has some plausible reason to endanger his life, this is not a suicide. This is maybe a service to the humanity, maybe for example defensive measure or whatsoever. The other thing which I would like to talk about is euthanasia, because again some people may say, because for example the patient is suffering, so he should be given the right to choose when to die. And we also of course understand the suffering of the people who are, for example, terminally ill, and we have great sympathy, but we think that this is not the reason, good reason for causing death to such a sacred life that even an ill person has, because every person, even if he is very ill, is very valuable and very precious, and you cannot say ill people are less important. So they can, for example, be killed by medical staff or by, for example, their own decision. No, they are as important as us, as the people who are going to decide for them or going to accept, for example, their wish of being, for example, killed, or for example medical services to be taken away. So euthanasia is not accepted, and Muslim jurists regard euthanasia normally as an act of murder, which is not done by someone else necessarily. It may be done by someone himself. So sometimes it's like suicide, sometimes may be done by others, so it's murder by others. For example, I have some verdicts of some Muslim jurists. For example, there's a verdict from Ayatollah Khomeini which says that any measure of hastening death of someone is considered as a murder. So by hastening death, again you are considered as a murderer. So if someone is going to die anyway, for example, he's going to die next year or next month, but you bring death earlier, this is also considered as an act of murder. Or for example, another Muslim jurist says killing a human being even out of mercy, euthanasia, or with the consent of the patient is not allowed. So there is no way to accept merciful killing of the people. And he adds that the main argument for such prohibition is that the verses and the hadith which indicate the prohibition of murder apply to such cases. The philosophy beyond this prohibition may be the fact that permitting such acts leads to many misuses, and for any weak and trivial excuse, then people may commit this. So if you open the gate, then it can be easily misused, and then tens and hundreds of people may be killed by this. And also the other reason, which is very much to be taken into account, is that sometimes medical judgments are not very decisive and certain, and there have been cases in which people who had no hope for life, then they were healed, they were cured. So we should not be quickly going for the option of euthanasia and say, okay, that can be a good relief. So this is a very short and brief introduction to the way that Muslims understand end of human life and how we should be responding towards the value of human being in the early stage of the life or in the ending stage of the life. And something that you can yourself continue in your study is also to study the value of human life even after death, which I'm not going to talk about now, but just I want you also to have this study, because we believe that even when a person dies, still he is a living creature, still the spirit is there, and still the body from whom the spirit has departed, still that body also is important. So you cannot insult body of a dead person because of the respect of human life. And I hope that you can have your further study. Thank you.